Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. And for those of you that have been following along throughout my YouTube career so far, you've most probably heard me say this a few times already. Got secondhand marketplaces, secondhand. But for those of you that are new to the channel, I try to do things as cheaply as possible and I try to save money wherever I can. Now, with the Half Moon tank and with the Beta Nano Cube, which unfortunately still does not have a Beta in it, coming soon. With these two, I've not saved that much money, even though with the Beta Cube, I've been saving money on a few places here and there. Now, with a 3-foot tank over there, I have saved a lot of money so far by doing what I do best, and that is going secondhand, DIYing it. And I'm intending to save even more money by adding floodlights and DIYing my own stands, hopefully. Now, over the years, the aquarium hobby has become quite inexpensive to start off in, and just in general, prices have just become way lower than they used to be many years ago. Every single company out there produces some form of aquarium set that you can actually buy nowadays. Now you have Tetra that sell basically two kinds of sets, where I have the Half Moon tank from. That comes as an all-inclusive set. You get the tank, you get the filter, you get the heater, and you get a light. Plus you can actually buy the cupboard as well. And they make the Half Moon tank and a rectangular tank. Then you have Denler that basically started off the Nano Cube revolution in a sense, and they have a wide variety of Nano Cubes ranging from 10 to 60 liters, all coming as a set as well, where you actually get the light, the tank, the filter, the heater, and a bag of substrate to start off the hobby with. And you basically have the newcomer in the block, which is Superfish. And from Superfish, I've only heard and seen, well, amazing things. The only thing that I own from Superfish, though, is the hang on the back filter on the Nano Cube. Though value for money, Superfish, I think, is just on the top of the league. Yet, I'm speaking of all smaller size tanks. And as soon as you start going bigger, like the 3-foot tank here next to me, prices start going up exponentially. And yes, you do have a few companies like Fluval and Tetra that do sell bigger 3-foot, 4-foot, or even 6-foot aquariums in a complete set that come with a light, filter, the tank, heater, and the cupboard built onto the tank, or even without a cupboard, though the prices start getting expensive. And the way that I try to do things, and that is trying to avoid going too expensive. With a 3-foot tank, as mentioned, I've been saving money everywhere. In one of my first videos on my YouTube channel, I briefly went over the future plans of what I had with the channel and with several of my tanks. And in that video, I showcased the 3-foot tank. I spend a lot of time on the secondhand marketplaces looking around for anything that I can get secondhand or third hand and save a lot of money through that. As I was scrolling around, I saw this tank here for sale and it was listed for €1. So obviously I immediately wrote the seller, and a few days later I drove to his place to go pick it up. He also didn't live too far away, which was quite convenient. And when I arrived at the seller's place, I saw that the aquarium actually also came with the cupboard. Now he offered me the cupboard and the aquarium completely for free and just put the €1 price tag onto the tank so that he could actually just list the tank to be sold. Now he was very happy that somebody was going to come and actually pick up the tank, otherwise it would have ended up in the trash, so that would have been quite a shame. Though I picked up this tank completely for free with the cupboard. Now yes, second-hand or third-hand products are never going to obviously be brand new. There are a few small dings in the cupboard here and there. The glass is a little bit scratched, and the previous owner did re-glue the tank, and it could have been a little bit of a cleaner job, though it's been standing here now completely filled with water, and I leak tested it at his place. There's no leaks. It's perfectly fine. So definitely a huge win getting a tank this size with the cupboard completely for free. Now, the 3-foot tank did stand around empty for a long period of time, and I basically housed the plethora of plants that I hoarded over a period of time inside the tank in vitro pots and just in normal pots in glass jars, and used the tank to basically just grow out the plants. Though in another video of mine, which I'll link up here, I went to go pick up the fish at my best friend's place and take his tank home as well, and that's why this tank is now filled up and actually has some life in it. At the time when I set up this aquarium, I didn't didn't really have much in hardscape or anything like that lying around. Though I did have 25 kilos of sand that I actually bought in bulk at the very beginning of my channel. It was very, very cheap, and I just added it into the tank. So I would roughly say around about maybe 10 euros of sand. I still had 3 big pieces of spider wood lying around as well that I actually cut up to create the half moon tank. I threw them in here as well. Technically free wood, but it was lying around, so I just threw it in here for the fish to have something. And with rocks, I unfortunately didn't have anything. Rocks being one of the more expensive parts of the hobby, and it was a Sunday, I didn't really have the option to just, well, go and get some rocks. But at the front entrance of our apartment, there are a bunch of rocks lying around there. And through a extensive experiment that, well, opted no results, I decided to use those rocks in the scape here just to give the fish 2 separate islands to, well, have 2 separate territories, and it worked amazingly. So the stones were completely free. Definitely a lot of money that I saved there as well. And for the future scape that I'm going to be doing in this tank, I'm definitely going to be using more of the rocks here, so saved a lot of money there as well. Now, after I escaped the tank and set it all up for the fish, I was only able to actually fill it up halfway with water because I didn't have a self-leveling mat for this tank. Eventually I did get a self-leveling mat. I bought one brand new from the company Floodlight. It cost me 12 euros, and in hindsight I could have maybe saved a little bit more money by just buying a very, very inexpensive yoga mat and cutting that up, though that idea only came to me after I actually had the self-leveling mat and was able to fill the tank up fully with water. Though with filtration I only had 2 small in-tank filters. When the tank was only filled up halfway, they actually worked fine and actually moving some water, but as soon as the tank was full of water, these were just not adequate enough to just deal with the amount of volume. So I started looking around for a bigger and external canister filter to, well, filter and move the water. As I always do, I went onto the secondhand marketplaces and started looking around for secondhand, third-hand external canister filters, and there was a plethora to choose from. Eventually I did find a seller who was not too far away from me, roughly around about 20 minutes, and he was offering up a JBL Crystal Pro 250 external canister filter for roughly 35 euros. Immediately drove to his place, looked at the filter and asked him if I could actually test it. Now, with any secondhand product that you go and buy off the secondhand marketplaces that does obviously not have a guarantee or such, do ask the sellers to actually test it first. If it's lights, filters, or heaters, just make sure that they actually work. If it's a smaller aquarium, do a leak test as well. Highly recommend doing anything like that when you go buy secondhand. This saved me a lot of money as well, since unfortunately the filter did start leaking through the main seal, and the shadow valves from the inlet and outlet pipes, they were unfortunately leaking as well. Plus the plastics on the shadow valves were already quite old and brittle and were actually breaking apart just by lightly tightening them. So at the end of the day, we settled for 20 euros, and I said yes. I did buy a new seal and 2 new valves, and that set me back another 20 euros. All in all, the filter cost me 40 euros, but I still nearly saved half of the price of a new filter. So definitely a win there as well, and a lot of money saved. So now we actually come to the part of the video that you've most probably also clicked on here, and that is the lights on the tank. At the moment, I have 2 small nano lights on here. One of the lights being the old light from the half moon tank. It's only 5 watts, not the most powerful of light. And the other light is from Dennerle, and that is part of a nanocube set that I actually also bought secondhand quite some time back, which is going to be a future project, though it is also only a 6 watt LED, also not the strongest, even though they have been providing the plants with enough light to grow. All of the plants obviously being easy to grow plants, though I do want something that is much stronger for the future of this tank. And as usual, I did go onto the secondhand marketplaces to go look around for some light bars, and I did find quite a few as well. Yet finding a light that was going to be a suitable size for this tank, not too expensive and also not too far away to actually go pick up, was not easy. There were a few LED light bars that did pique my interest. One in particular, which was actually from Superfish, which was the Scaper LED Light 90, I think, which would have been perfect for this tank, though also just too far away to actually make it viable to go pick it up. Though then I came up with a bright idea like many others before me, and that is actually to use some floodlights. And as soon as I started looking into floodlights, yes, the prices were extremely cheap, and DIYing it myself was most probably going to save me a lot of money. So I got 2 of these, but I would say let's get everything together, start building the DIY stands, mounting these to see what it will look like with floodlights, and to see if I actually saved any money on this. Okay, so as you can see, the L stands for the floodlights are already done, and I just took one long piece of wood, cut it all to size, and kind of roughly measured out how high I wanted of the aquarium and how far I wanted in from the aquarium, well, where the floodlights should hang, and then had another piece of wood, which was a nice big square. I cut off all the corners to have these little triangles, and the triangles I just put onto the L stands here on either side, just to give it a little bit more strength for when the floodlight actually hangs on there, so that this is also just going to be nice and sturdy once I actually mount it to the back of the aquarium. Though I put everything out here on the table to give you the price of what everything costs and to just calculate everything together to have the end sum and to actually compare or see if it is actually, well, viable or even relevant to actually do this yourself, and if not, instead of just buying an LED bar. But I have the receipt here. Let me just get it out. Well, the LED floodlights I bought off the internet. I just started looking around for LED floodlights and I just chose these. Nothing particular about them, though there were a few things that I did look for in the floodlight, and firstly that was the color. Are they dimmable? Do they come with a cable? Are they waterproof? And well, obviously the price. Even though I did actually order with a cable, they came without. A little bit of a blessing in disguise, since, well, I can disconnect the cable myself if a floodlight breaks and then just buy a new one. Though I did have to go buy a cable with plug, which was a little bit pricey. I'll get back to that just now. Otherwise, are the LED floodlights dimmable? I don't really know. On the website, they did specify that they were dimmable, though nowhere on the box or in the instructions did they mention anything about these being dimmable. However, that doesn't matter. They are waterproof, they're 30 watt, they're cold white, and they have 2700 lumen of brightness, so that is quite a lot of light coming from 2 LED floodlights. And price-wise, both of these together with shipping was around about 20 euros, so not a bad deal. The other things that I bought, as mentioned, the wood was 10 euros together, so not much at all. I did buy some cable connectors. The cable connectors were roughly around about 3 euros. Rounded up. I bought some black paint to paint the stands black. This was 7 euros. And then I bought some cables with some plugs on them. Unfortunately, this being Europe and everything needs to be, well, controlled and checked and so on and so forth. So the EU standards, the EU standard plug and the EU standards just in general, the cables weren't cheap. These cables were 20 euros as well, so a little bit pricey. Otherwise, screws and paintbrushes I still had lying around in my apartment. You could get these for cheap as well. Let's just say 5 euros for these together. So all in all, everything together cost me around about 65 euros, and that is actually not bad of a price. I did buy 2 floodlights. I most probably could have bought just one, which would have technically halved down the price. And for the price of one LED floodlight and doing everything myself here, I don't think I would find anything on the internet pricely related that I could just buy off the shelf, especially with such a light intensity. But I think definitely a very, very awesome deal. I'm going to paint the L stands black, and then we can mount the LEDs and actually see what it looks like before and after. It's the next day. The L stands are done. I still gave them a second coat of paint yesterday, and I also added these little spacers on the back here from the rest of the wood from the stands itself. This is just going to... I glued them on the wrong side. Damn it. Yes, I literally just realized I actually glued on the spacers onto the wrong side. They actually have to be on this side here, since there's a little bit of a gap behind the cupboard, which I was going to, space with these spacers. But now that I glued them on the wrong side, I actually just need to rip them off and glue them on the correct side. Damn it, my bad. I'm quickly going to do that and I'll be back with you guys. Okay, this time I glued the pieces of wood on the correct side. The glue hasn't cured yet fully, though it does dry very, very quickly. quickly. And I also went ahead and just drilled 2 holes on each side. This is just going to be so that I can drill some holes through the back of it and mount it to the back of the cupboard. And these are then going to be over the aquarium. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't paint everything black, this is obviously going to be behind the background of the aquarium. I'm still planning on painting the back of the aquarium black. This is actually not even going to be visible, but yes, these I'm going to put aside and let them dry, and then I'm going to just, well, connect the floodlights to the cables, and then I still have the big task ahead of me of actually emptying out the 3-foot tank basically almost completely, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to move the cupboard. I need to get to the back to, well, screw in the screws for the L stands and to doing all of that. But let me get the floodlights over here and connect the cables, and then we can start draining the tank and, well, hopefully move the cupboard. It's quite heavy, so let's get started on doing that. Well, most of the water is out of the tank. I hope that this is going to be enough for me to move the cupboard. I'm gonna take off the lights and take everything out of the cupboard that I don't really need inside of it, just to, well, get rid of as much weight as possible. And then I'm gonna try and move it, and hopefully it moves. If not, I'm gonna ask my wife to help me. Maybe you can hear her vigorously typing away on her keyboard. But anyway, I'm gonna get everything ready and hopefully we can move it. There we go, the tank is filled up again. It always takes quite a bit of time. Now, before I switch on the lights, I'm gonna, well, get the filter up and going. I'm gonna switch on the heaters and I'm gonna add some dechlorinator to the water, since I basically did nearly more than 3/4 of a water change. And then I'm gonna switch on the lights, and then we'll see how bright they are and see what it looks like. Okay, well, the moment of truth. I'm going to plug in the lights and see how blinding this is going to be. Let's just do it. Well, there we go. That actually looks pretty damn awesome. And I did expect it to be much, much brighter, but this is perfect. This is actually amazing. I'm quite pleased with this. This is quite cool. My wife is also just thumbs upping in the background. So yes, thumbs up, definitely. And yeah, I'm impressed. I'm quite happy. Well, there we go. The stands are installed, the floodlights are installed and working fine. And I'm very, very impressed and quite amazed with the way that it actually looks. It's nothing compared to the small little nano cube lights. So this is actual light. And I am quite impressed with the price and everything. I mean, I have 60 watts and, well, more than 5,000 lumen of light. And yes, that cost me not even 70 euros. Definitely a very, very cheap option to get a lot of light. And if you have a little bit of know-how on how to do a little bit of DIY things, the stands were extremely easy to create. The electrical part of it is also extremely simple. So if you definitely want to have the bang for your buck, floodlights are definitely the way to go. Otherwise, anything else sort of in this price range, you're only going to get about half the light quantity, maybe. And everything else is just going to be way, way, way more expensive than this. And honestly, I actually like the look of it. It looks quite amazing. Now, I'm still going to obviously paint the back black of this aquarium, and I'm going to rescape it at some point. This was just going to be a temporary scape. I'm obviously just gathering up slowly but surely everything that I need for this aquarium, and I'm trying to do it as cheaply as possible, as you see with the floodlights. It did cost a bit of money, but it is absolutely the cheapest option, and it looks amazing. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and a comment down below. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments on the floodlights and the DIY project. If you think it is worth it to spend money on floodlights, or to rather just spend money on a, well, proper aquarium LED bar. And otherwise, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below for, well, future projects like this, and for future projects still to come. There's a lot still to come, and of course, as you can see, I'm slowly but surely preparing the 3-foot tank to rescape it and to put in my all-time favorite fish. Those are all going to be future projects, and if you don't want to miss them out, as mentioned, yes, hit the notification bell. Otherwise, I'm going to sit back and admire the new lighting that the 3-foot tank has, and I would say I'll catch you guys in the next one.